Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, Beth thinks that I should do a video on long distance relationships and how they work and what the risks are. Now, it's very easy. I've often thought this, that the negative stories usually come out on top. When I say on top, they're the most easily told. What happened to me, and all of this. So my suggestion is that you need to have a balance. You need to be aware that there are very good relationships right now that can result from a long distance relationship, and there are others which are not going to be a happy ending. Now, we've got several subscribers who've become friends and they've enjoyed both. Well, some of them haven't enjoyed the relationship, but one, even our friend Alfred, said that he found someone that really was seeming to be very, very promising. We all know Alfred's adventure. Sorry, I'm just thinking about the dogs. I'm sure that they have a camera on our camera, because as soon as I start the video, the dogs start. Can you? No, Beth is outside. Well, anyway, Alfred has tried to. I'm going to see if I can stop that noise. Okay, I think we handled the dogs. Talek the Terrible had suddenly appeared, and that's why the dogs were barking. So I think I was talking about the the incredible Alfred for a moment, although not to get drawn into a big discussion about Alfred. He's still trying. Every time that I see him, there's some other adventure is going on, and it almost tires me out, the trouble that he's going to. I thought that when you live close to Taliban, you could go out on almost any day of the week and you could meet someone, because people are open to talking. I guarantee, I promise you that if I go out, I could engage in conversation with almost anyone, and it's not that I am good at that. It's just that if I put myself out to it, to talk to someone, to find out about them, people would be willing to talk. So unlike in perhaps the UK or the US, where I remember that the very common saying among guys in the States was nice guys come out last, and so you had a lot of nice guys, even if it's how they see themselves, and they just felt that they came out last, that they didn't get a chance. But here, people give you a chance, and so once you're given a chance, then it's up to you to decide whether it's the right relationship for you. And Alfred, of course, and this is what I mean about the negative stories, Alfred said that he had found this lady on the internet, and she seemed to be perfect, good at conversation, was interested in him, and it's all seemed very, very good. And then finally she did ask for money, for help, for something or other. Oh boy, well, that will be a whole other video. We'll be talking about the different ways that you can be approached as a foreigner for help with money. Personally, we don't, as a charity, when we have someone who calls regularly. She lives in Manila, and she wants us to send money, and no matter how much we try, she keeps telling Beth that I promised to send her money, which is just not true. We're not able to help someone who is in Manila, and unless we see people face to face or by referral, then we're not able to help. There's only it's not a huge organization, but we do what we can with what we have. And Alfred said that he said to her, "Look, I can't. That's not possible. But where do you live?" And anyway, as soon as she said Taliban, and he said, "Well, that's great, because I live just outside Taliban." And from that moment, the relationship was ended. See, she was obviously on the make, and was going to relieve him of some of his money, and so that's the sad story. But my favourite success story is Steve and Marge, and they started. Steve was an all-timer as far as our vlog went, and had been with us, I think, right from the start. I think, God, we were just about in double digits when Steve came to us and started following and supporting us. And during the course of I don't know how long it was, a year or I don't know, maybe 2 years, and I'm only guessing there, I don't know for sure. But what happened was that I think Marge started to see that Steve made a certain quality of comment. So she then made a comment in response to something that he had said. And from there, they started to message each other and then do the video thing. And now they are living very happily in, I think, Leyte. And we still hear from Steve and Marge. Beth and I went on a little couple of days vacation when Steve and Marge came over. So there are good relationships that are happening. Now, one of the things that you, as an expat, that you have to be careful of, and that is not to go with your emotions, not too much. You really need to keep your mind active and be realistic. And I think it bears out in logic to say that if you are someone who is, let's say that you're someone who is moderately average attractive, you will get a lot of different replies if you put an ad onto a dating site. You could easily, in just a few days, a week, have 300 or 400 responses to your profile, and you'll get responses to the profile and they may not even have read it very carefully. But they are interested in making a contact. Now, first of all, you know that they're interested in you. They will have seen your picture. They will have seen, we hope, they will have read what you put about yourself, and they'll have believed most of it, because we'll hope that most of it was true. And then what will happen is that you will gradually thin out. There'll be lots of people who are just not people that you are interested in. And so it really comes down to your personal preferences and whatever the response is from that person, that Filipina. Well, let's say that you actually meet someone like Steve and Marge, and you connect, and it's a real connection, and we'll assume that you've done all of the shall we call it, it seems funny to call it due diligence when you're talking about humans or human relationships, but you could call it that you would find out if their agenda was in line with your means or your desires, wishes, intentions of coming out and living here. So then you cut down to whether you can keep the magic going in a long distance relationship. And this is especially difficult at this time because there are foreigners out there that have met someone during this pandemic and they can't come here. They can't. At the moment we're kind of locked in on Bohol. You know, we can't, I don't think we can leave, and we can't, no one can join us. So we have friends who are just waiting for the restrictions to be lifted in order to be able to come and visit, and that's not happening at the moment. So what's your options? Well, just about your only options are to go and do the video calling, and at least with the video calling you can see the person, you can see how they dress, you can see what their mannerisms are, and you can see all of that. Now the other thing is that if you met that person before the travel restrictions were put in place, in other words, before this quarantine madness happened, if you met them before that, this has now placed an unexpected delay on when you can meet, because a lot of guys, once they are serious when they go online and they really want to meet someone, and then they meet someone which may be an absolute beauty to them in their eyes, to be the most beautiful. I remember when Steve told me about his experience. He said when she was at the airport to meet him when he came, and it wasn't just him that said this, it was a well-used phrase, that a beautiful woman was waiting for him. And so this is going to happen, but if the delay is extra, this may place another piece in the jigsaw puzzle of putting together a long distance and keeping going a long distance relationship. Now when Beth and I first met, it very quickly after talking through a stressful situation. Actually, we talked during the aftershocks on an earthquake, and we were not able to have an easy time of that. But at the end of it, I had to leave and she had to go to work. I was leaving to come back to Mabalacat, where I was staying, which is on the mainland. Well, it's on Luzon. So I really wanted to make sure that we wouldn't have confessions. My suggestion to Beth was that we should not see anyone else, so that when I did come back, which we thought would be maybe 3 weeks or a month, not very long, we wouldn't have any difficulties in looking at what each has been doing. And I remember that when I left, I had several people that I'd been communicating to online that I'd never met, and I just wrote to each of them and said, look, you know, on my trip to Cebu, as it was then, I've met somebody special, and so it's no longer okay for me to be in communication with you. And I cut the communication then. And Beth told me when I came, and when I saw her the next time, she said that she'd more or less had to do the same thing with anybody at work. One particular person was new to the job, and I'd asked for her phone number, and she had said, I'm sorry, I'm already committed to someone. So honesty is very important in this, and if you really knew the secret of how to know if someone is really intending to be honest and truthful with you, if I knew an infallible answer for that, then I really would be a very rich man, wouldn't I? Because I could sell it. I could certainly sell that on YouTube. But I don't have that kind of answer. You really have to go by your gut feeling. And then you have to make sure that whatever happens, you're going to keep your side of the bargain, which is, if you are hoping to spend your life with that person, you need to be honest and to honor the relationship. And that's what I did. And despite all the predictions, our marriage has survived very well. We are both committed to the same mission to help, and we have no secrets being hidden. We've lived together under some very difficult, trying, stressful times. There's all kinds of things that, as an incoming foreigner, you're going to have to learn fairly quickly. And it seems to me that it's not one size fits all, because I remember saying on the blog that it had taken Beth and I between 2 and 3 months to get everything sorted out. You know, a little thing would come up and we'd have to go in and get in line again, and then there'd be some other reason why the thing was not complete. And I said 2 or 3 months. So I said, if you are expecting to take 2 or 3 weeks vacation and get married in that vacation time, I think you should think again. But as soon as I said that, someone immediately commented and said, no, I think you're wrong. You know, you're wrong. It's not difficult. So he had come in, and he was married and had a little honeymoon, all within the space of 2 weeks. So evidently the way that it is for you may not be the way that it is for me. But knowing how it works in the Philippines, and how very small things that wouldn't happen if you were perhaps in America or in the UK. What can happen here is that you go in and I don't know, you might speak to a Mrs. A, and Mrs. A tells you, no, I have to ask you to fill in this form, and she gives you the AB24 form, and if you bring that back, we'll be fine. And you can say, is this everything that we need? Absolutely, you just bring in the AB form and we'll be fine. And off you go, you fill in the form, you get it notarized, you do all of the things that are needed, and it may be difficult to do that, because you might have to have clearance from the barangay captain or something like that. So you'd have to go to this place and that place just to get that form filled out, and then you take that back in and it's somebody else is looking at your paperwork and say, oh yeah, I see you've got the AB 24 form. Did you get the AB 22 while you were at it? And you say, well, we were told that that was everything that we needed. No, sorry, you need... And then they send you away again. So you go away and you do what you have to and you bring it back. And of course, before you left, you said, now, is this really everything that we need? Absolutely. When you get back, it may or may not be everything that you need. So there's stuff there to learn as well. Right, but that's as much as I've got time for right now. But I hope it helps. I think honesty and loyalty to someone that you think is the right one, that you've taken the time to learn about, and something that I think is important, what they're feeling is about children. How do they feel about children? You may or may not be able to have children. Is that okay with them? Is there an age difference? If the age difference, is it something that you think or she thinks might get in the way? I know that Beth and I have an enormous, the largest that I've heard, age difference, and here we are coming up eventually. Our next anniversary, wedding anniversary, will be 8 years. So far so good. So you got to find these things out. And my thing is that it's easier to say these things first, up front, when it's not too difficult, when you're not in fear of risking offending the person. So that's the thing that I think is important. I also wonder if they are willing to move elsewhere. For instance, if they live in the mountains, I'm oversimplifying things now, but if they live in the mountains and you don't want to live in the mountains, you want to live near the beach, is that going to be okay with her, and vice versa? So you need to know about things Filipino. So you can find out these things easily enough, because there are books written on it. There are many vlogs where they'll tell you all of the bad news, and other vlogs that'll tell you only the good news, and you have to find the balance between two, and that's important too. So finding out where the person lives, I always thought that the most logical way to approach this would be, if logic can be applied to matters of the heart, don't put an ad into a dating site until you've done this, until you've done some research on life in the Philippines. Find out whether in fact you would be happy. You may be a beach person in your mind. I always thought that I would love to live on a white beach. Crazy stereotypical Brit idea of a paradise would be able to walk on a white beach every day. Anyway, I thought that, and I never thought that I would go for the isolation of a mountain home, and that's what we have. We're quite isolated here. We have family around us, but we actually can't see a house in any direction. We're in hundreds of square miles of hills designated to be mountains. See, so I thought, look at the Philippines, look at the kind of place that you would like to live, look for learning of that place, and then once you decide the kind of place that you want to live in, find someone who lives there. Because believe me, more than you may know, family is very important to to Filipinas, and for instance, I can't imagine, we often think, Beth and I often think that we would like to have a place near the beach where we could go to the beach. If not on the beach, who knows? There are places that you can afford that you would be able to do that. But I cannot imagine the rest of the family not being there. And this is their home. They live in the mountains. They live this kind of life. So now it totally suits me. I enjoy it. I go for my walk in the hills around, and I take all the dogs with me, or they take me, and it suits me very well. So there's also the willingness to change that probably would come from you. So thanks for looking in, and bye for now. It's a never-ending subject.